If not now, then when? If not today.
Hello, angels! Hi there! My name is Yoni, and let's see, where are the award winners tonight? You want to raise your hand so we can see where you're attending? Okay, wonderful, welcome. And we want to, I want to give you all a big blessing that you each receive this night, and receive this award. And we all know what it's like, right? When somebody says, oh, thank you for something. And what a lot of times people say is, oh, well, thank you for something, and thanks for the thank you fest. This is your time to receive. Receive praise, receive love, and with the words that are coming out of people's mouth. It's starting from right here. So, recipients, as much as you can, as much as your receiving gates can open, we invite you to open them some more to the love and appreciation that's coming your way, and to give us that gift of receiving. I want to give each of you also the blessing of taking a moment, like a little Shabbat right now, to acknowledge the ripple effect that you are had in this world. You've made waves that have changed the entire world. And I stand here, I'm a camp director of a Jewish environmental camp, Eden Village Camp, and I'm directly surfing the wave of one of our award recipients tonight, Nili, who started the work at the Telelearning Center and paved the way. And I'm just one surfer on the ripple, and I know all of the recipients today, you're change agents in the world. And to take a moment to really, mamish, say, wait a second, what have I done with so far in this life? And to acknowledge that. And my other blessing is that I bless you that your waves reach the shore. That the change that you have stepped forward to make into the world reaches its destiny and its goal. That this, we're all working for Tikkun Olam. So that the Tikkun Olam that we're working for actualizes sooner than we had imagined, and even richer than we had ever dreamed. So we'll sing a little song about it. How about that? So a little song to respond to. May the blessings of the universe, may the blessings of the universe shine on everyone, shine on everyone, and may we all see the light within, and may we all see the light within, the light within, the light within. This part's gonna be a little fill in the blank. May all of the beings in all of the world be happy. Say happy. There's another word. May all of the beings in all of the world be happy. What do you want them? What do you want for the people in the world? Peace and filth. What else do we want here? Peace. What else do we want? Help. What are we doing here? Simhai. Good, loud. All right. So may all of the beings in all of the world, yell it out. Be happy. Shalom aleichem. Shalom, shalom aleichem. Aleichem, shalom, shalom aleichem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. May the blessings of the universe shine on everyone, and may we all see the light within, the light within. Mazel tov.
Thank you, Yoni. You come to Isabella Freedman Hazon event, you're not going to get a stodgy event. You're going to get folks like Yoni Sadlin. Hello, my name is David Weisberg. I'm the executive director of Isabella Freedman. I'm so gratified to have you all here. I'm looking forward to changing my title soon as part of this exciting merger that we're in the middle of. I'm really excited that this idea of if not now is becoming what it's becoming. and that many of you folks are back here for a second year. Many of you are here for the first time. Just a couple of days before we held the If Not Now event for the first time last year, I had this amazing experience. One of our honorees, Reb Zalman, who is, many of you know, the founder of the Jewish Renewal Movement in his late 80s, came in a few days early for the event. And I took Reb Zalman one of those days on a little drive to Beacon, New York, and we went to the home of Pete Seeger. And Zalman had never met Pete Seeger before, and there was this like 87-year-old and this 92-year-old meeting each other for the first time, and me sitting in their presence, and Pete Seeger saying to Zalman, "So what did the Jews think of my putting the words of Ecclesiastes to music?" And he was talking about turn, 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 and he was like, "You know that I changed the words a little bit?" And Zalman's like, "Oh yeah," and Zalman said, "Do you have a copy of the Bible?" And Pete's like, "Yeah, it's up on my loft. David, would you go up there?" And I'm climbing up to Pete Seeger's loft to get the Bible so he and Reb Zalman could talk about the words to turn, turn, turn. And I came home that day, and I think I posted on Facebook, because it's the kind of thing you post on Facebook, that I lived this really charmed life. And when I thought about it later, it's not necessarily that I just lived a charmed life. I'm charmed to know the two of them. But the fact is, it happened because, I just decided to do it. And this evening is really to honor people who didn't just have a good idea, but just who decided to do it. These are people who decided to do things and followed through with them, and by doing so, they give us a charmed life. By making that decision to do something, they make our lives more special. And so I'm really pleased to join with you tonight to honor and induct into our If Not Now Society, Nili, Simhai, Saul, Kaiserman, Mira, Schwartz, and Richard Dell, and we can give them their first applause of the evening. And I'd like to say that I think we have at least in the house one of our inductees from last year, and this If Not Now Society will become this living body, this Hall of Fame. So I know at least Leora Malik is here. Is anyone else here who's a member of the If Not Now Society? If not, I'm going to ask Leora to stand up so that we can recognize her as well. And the last thing I want to say is I think that what's going on right now with Isabella Freedman and Hazon is one of those If Not Now moments as well. We're two organizations with very similar missions and very different histories. Isabella Freedman just celebrated, believe it or not, its 120th birthday since we began in 1893 as the Jewish Working Girls Vacation Society. In fact, I recently made a joke at a program I was at last week that we were started in 1893 as a nonprofit to bring poor, young, Jewish 20-something girls from New York who worked all day hard in the factory to bring them to this camp to have a free summer vacation. And now we're an organization that brings Jewish girls and men in their 20-somethings from New York and other places to have forced labor making pickles at Isabella Freedman and working on farms. So, you just get with the times and do the right thing. And I think that this is one of those times for our two organizations to come together and do something really special. I think this night is a really great example of it. And I'm just really pleased, and Nigel and I really share in thanking all of you for being here. And with that, I'm really pleased to start our inductions and ask Amy Brown and Jordan Dale to come forward.
Good evening, everyone. So first, we just really want to point out that Nili is and has been the leader of an absolutely remarkable community. When we honor her, we honor that entire community. So here's a big shout out to the Advisory Council, the alumni, the supporters, and all of the people who love the Tell Learning Moments. Nili and I began together in the spring of 1998 at Capitol Camps and Surprise Lake Camp as TEVA educators. And I very much remember our first encounter where I think the two of us were like, all right, well, let's see how that happens. But after one one short year in 1999, Nili and I began together as two of a very small handful of people in the United States who were working year-round full-time in Jewish environmental education. And I feel very fortunate to have been, that we were able to be a part of each other's beginnings. What began as a professional partnership grew into a friendship and into an exchange of professional advice and knowledge.
One could introduce Nili by telling you a bunch of facts about her. She's been the director of Teva for such and such years. She grew up in such and such, where she was inspired by such and such experiences to become a Jewish educator. Articles have been written about her. Important folks seek her advice about stuff. She has a really cool family and lives in a really cool house. But we prefer to introduce Nili by describing the power she has as a human being.
Nili, everyone that you touch learns the true meaning of being both a giver and a receiver. You are both receptive to the wisdom of others and artful in sharing your own.
We live in a world that is threatening to destroy itself one carbon particle at a time. It can be depressing. In the midst of the darkness, we have heroes, people who know the peril we face, but don't shrink from it. Nili is one of those heroes. If you pass her on the street, you might not take notice of her at all. But put her in the field with a new team of Teva educators, or in a room full of Teva students, or around a table with leaders trying to develop a new greening initiative, and she becomes a giant. She oozes wisdom and inspiration, and she teaches everyone how to reach for what's best in ourselves as human beings and as Jews, to imagine and help create a future that is blessed, not afflicted. Nili, in our opinion, you are the prototype of an if not now type of person. We need more Nilis in this world. We have been blessed to know this one. It is our pleasure to introduce our colleague, our teacher, and our friend, Nili Simhai.
A retreatant came up to us and just started singing with us. You know, this young woman, she looked like she was in her early 20s. And it was the look on her face, it was incredible. And she said, you know, I went to Teva when I was in 6th grade and when I was in 7th and 8th also. And she said, and we still sing these songs, but also we talk about what we learned at Teva for a long time, even in our senior year in our high school, and even now that I'm in college. She was there for a program with the Jewish Farm School, and she said, I still remember it. This is part of how I ended up here. Teva has built a small empire of inspired human beings who have gone on to build lots of other things. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is the lesson of the metaphor of planting a seed, the lesson that education will give you, which is that if you just wait around long enough, you really will see the fruit of your labors 10 years down the line, 12 years down the line, a generation down the line, and that has to be one of the most amazing blessings that you can have. You know, I feel like I spent a lot of my teaching career quoting, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. It's not your task to finish it, but you're also not allowed to desist from it. That's another phrase we all like to use. And after a while, it felt like it wasn't quite urgent enough for me, right? Given the timeline that we're talking about, in terms of whether it's planetary degradation, social justice issues, whatever, the world can teach you Torah, and you can teach the world your Torah. Sometimes, you say, if not now, when, but it's also okay the next day, because things, sometimes things just need to simmer. Sometimes things will take a long time to come into just sort of build a community, put your heart into it, and work your hardest, you know? Just seize the moment, if not now, when? That they felt like what they learned at Teva is that you can accomplish great things. There really is no place else on earth for having a family, for having a Jewish community. That's a lot of what this work has given me and continues to give me. I was pregnant with Tal all through the fall of 2007, when it looked like Tal was having a hard time deciding to come out into the world. There was a huge circle of people who sang to me and sang to Tal, really. They literally sang him into the world and said, come on, it's beautiful out here, you know? Just come join us, we're waiting for you. All in song. And that circle really, you know, after that was when I was actually delivered. The world feels very urgent right now because we know so much more than we used to. Right? We have all this information streaming at every moment, and so that piece of it sort of is the obvious piece. If not now, when? Like you know, seize the moment.
Nili, it's Bill McKibben here, and just to wish you such congratulations on this award, if not now, indeed, and to say thank you for all the work you've done for a very, 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 very long time. It's, you know, the very best thing in the world, just for all of us to know that there are so many people in so many places working so hard. Might not guarantee that we're going to win, but we're sure as hell going to fight. And I'm so, so grateful for all your good-hearted work now and in the future. And I will so look forward to the chance to meet you in person. But in the meantime, Mazel Tov. Take care.
Nili Simhai, if not now, Society Inductee, Environmental and Social Justice, April 30, 2013, from Hazon and Isabella Freedman Jewish Retreat Center.
So first of all, I have to, this was not planned, so I have to say thank you to David Weisberg, because he knows I have an eco crush on Bill McKibben, and he managed to make that video happen, and that was very amazing and very fun for me. I'm not starstruck by celebrities, but Bill McKibben may be my exception. Well, so first of all, thank you Jordan, thank you Amy for those beautiful words. Thank you to my family who came from so far away, my parents and my aunts, my uncle. And thank you to Tal and Abba for coming, and especially for sharing me all these years with my passions and with my work. It's not actually possible to do work that takes so much from you, from this, you know, from your absolute essence, without having an incredibly supportive family, and so I wanted to say thank you for that. Yeah, yes. And to Hazon and to Isabella Freedman. It's funny, I look at you when I say Hazon now. For having a lot of leadership in this field, and taking the time to recognize our successes. It's really important to celebrate our successes. Today is the first day of my sabbatical. I don't know how many people know this, but I am taking a break from work in general, to feel what it's like to be in Shmita, in Shabbat. And that's a very deep thing that I've learned from this work, is that you can't do the work without there being time for renewal, rejuvenation, rethinking. We are coming up on sabbatical year 2014, fall of 2014 in the Jewish calendar, and so my hope is that I'm going to do a practice round for all y'all, so that when it's time for all of us to be in our sabbatical year in 2014, maybe I'll have something to share. And so, because today's my first day in my sabbatical, and you know, I don't expect it to be like this every day. I don't expect to get all dolled up and get awards every day of my sabbatical. I thought that I would share a blessing with you, and of course, wouldn't you know it, it just so happens that working with the Teva family, they always reflect back to you the thing you most feel in your heart. So in some ways I feel like Yoni said a lot of what I wanted to say. My Teva family has moved mountains, has been incredibly supportive, but the biggest thing that I've gotten from these 16 years of work with Teva, and by my family, by the way, I mean my wonderful, beloved educators, my teachers who come and are inspired, the kids who come back here year after year and still talk about things when they're in college. The biggest thing that I've gotten from it is this sense that the ability to be able to see reflected in your community how blessed you are. That my family, my Teva community, my community at large is always reflecting back to me that I am blessed. And so as I enter my sabbatical year, I want to give you guys all that blessing again, because Yoni did say it once, that we all live life in a way where people reflect back to us how blessed we are at every moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Nili. Before I call up our next inductor, I just, in January of this year, with a slightly less pomp and circumstance than the Isabella Freedman Hazon merger, there was another big change that happened when Teva, which was been part of Surprise-like Camp's structure since its inception, moved to become part of Isabella Freedman and will become part of the combined organization soon. And I want to take advantage of this moment with Jordan here and Nili here and other people who are associated with Surprise-like here to say thank you. Both to say thank you for the nurturing that you did and have done of this program. And really sincerely from both Nigel and me, thank you for putting the trust in us to take care of it. I'm the father of 4 daughters, and I know that the biggest thing you can say to someone is to trust them with the care of your child, and that's what you've done to us. And we're really appreciative and really moved and promise from the bottom of our hearts to take care of it and nurture it in the way that you have, and I thank you for that as well. With that, I'd like to call up our next inductor, Mark Kaiserman.
As Saul Kaiserman's younger brother, I've had the opportunity to be his friend, his student, and even his disciple. Saul is a force of nature. People around him from 2 to 92, Jewish and not Jewish, lifelong friends, colleagues, children, and strangers, find him incredibly compelling. I moved out of New York City at 18 years old, so my primary identity would no longer be, are you Saul's brother? I've tried to find the right word to describe Saul as a teacher and a leader. Beyond his talent, wisdom, and compassion, there is a magnetism he projects when he picks up the guitar to entertain or to lead services, jumps on a folding bike and gets others to ride with him for 60 miles, or engages a room of people in a story and a journey to a better tomorrow. My thesaurus suggested I use cult leader, but I'll go with charismatic. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai wrote, if you should be holding a sapling in your hand when the Messiah has arrived, First plant the sapling, and then go out and greet the Messiah. In reality, Saul would probably have the would-be Messiah planting trees beside him, singing inch by inch, row by row. Having followed Saul through nearly his entire life, I have been guided by his model in supporting the environment. He got me to go on multiple Hazon rides. He got a whole bunch of us to stay at Isabella Freedman during a snowstorm during Hanukkah on New Year's Eve so we could attend some party he was throwing. I think it was called Team Liz's wedding. But Saul's connection with the organizations, people, and values of Hazon and Isabella Freedman go back to his childhood, where he was an early environmentalist. Now, some of you are going to think I'm just making this next part up, but this is entirely 100% true. I remember my first environmental song. It had words written by Saul. Saul wrote the words, and I imagine, given the patriotic music, it was written around 1976. All these years later, my earliest and best teacher wrote this environmental lesson for us. We are losing our resources throughout the land. We're using them up so quickly, I might not grow up to a man. There soon will be no more oil, trees or not even sand. So if you want us children to grow up, listen to my plan. Save our resources and our, save our resources and our, save our resources and our land. Please welcome my brother, our songwriter, teacher, friend, and inspiration, Saul Kaiserman.
Back from my trip around the universe, they need me to be quarantined, but first, before all your questions, let me just expound. Love makes all the other worlds go round.
So I was not the most well-behaved kid in my class at Sunday school, and that was saying a lot because we were all pretty badly behaved. And I remember one of the many times that I was in the principal's office saying something to the effect of, you know, if I were in charge around here, then things would be different. And there's a kind of presence and living in the moment that kids do naturally, that I think as we get older and there's more and more things on our mind of like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, it's harder and harder to focus on just being present, living in the moment. And Hillel is really asking a rhetorical question. He doesn't really want to know. Really, he's saying to us, if you don't do it now, you're never going to get to do it, so do it now. And I think that more recently I've felt that kind of constant sense of urgency can actually be oppressive. And I'm more taking his question seriously as a question, if not right at the moment, then really when? Like, are you going to make time later to do this? Can you schedule it with this question of if not now, when? Like, I think we need to remember it's not all going to get done. You can't do everything. And so I think that, you know, part of this message for me is you need to decide what really matters. You can't actually do everything that you want to do. So if not now for this thing, yes, maybe never for this thing. But make sure the things that really matter to you, you're going to be able to do. And I think for children to get a sense that they can have an impact on the world around them, it's important for them to know that as educators we're always planning for the future. There's also a sense of we need to live in the moment. We need to be really present with our students in order to make sure that our work isn't just our agenda, but actually is the agenda of the children, the people that we are trying to empower to be change makers in this world. The change that is happening through the work of these organizations is happening in the center of mainstream Judaism. And I'm a person who's spent a good chunk of my adult life working for mainstream Jewish organizations, big synagogues, and those institutions need to be ones that buy into this kind of agenda if we're really going to see real change happen in the Jewish community. And I think if it weren't for the work of Teva and Freedman and Hazon, those issues would still be staying on the margins. I'd love every Jewish institution to be a green institution, and for the people who work at Jewish organizations, Jewish institutions, to feel a sense that their organization's health is deeply connected to their own individual health and the health of the planet as a whole. I want to be a part of making that happen. It's a big, yeah, may not be now, maybe more of a when.
He likes fish and fish like him. That's our man Saul Kaiserman. He can grow a beard in a minute 50. Wears a suit, inside he's a hippie. Far and wide he likes to roam. Brooklyn is forever home. Secretly called Fred, I think. Sings better when he drinks. Who doesn't? He likes fish and fish like him. That's our man Saul Kaiserman. Teaches the Shema and the Aleph base. He can sure grow hair upon his face. Likes to declare a snow day. Send the children home to play. Secretly called Fred, I think. Sings better when he drinks. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
And so we celebrate and honor Saul Kaiserman as we induct him into the If Not Now Society, Jewish Life and Learning, April 30th, 2013, Hazon and Isabella Freedman Jewish Retreat Center. Oh, wow. Yeah. I thought my brother showing up from California was going to be the big surprise. Woo! Okay, Mazel Tov, Nili, Richard, Mira, amazing. Thank you for all the work that you've done. Thank you to all of you who are here tonight to support Hazon and Isabella Freedman, my friends and family that are here, to all of the people who gave to this event, who couldn't be here, to all the people who give through their work in the organization, people who supported these organizations in the past. I just want to name a couple of people specifically. I want to mention Rachel Brody and Amy Meltzer, who hired me to be the song leader for a new program they were putting together called Teva, and look where it's gone. I want to thank Adam Berman for inviting me to be on the Freedman board. I want to thank Cheryl Cook for inviting me to receive this honor. I want to thank my brother Mark for inducting me into the If Not Now When Society. I want to say thank you to all of you on behalf of religious school principals everywhere who are a somewhat maligned lot. I want to say Mazel Tov to David and Nigel on your wedding. And I want to, really, the main person I want to thank is Liz Frierish. Liz is really the exemplar of living out the core values of Hazon and Freedman. I see them as being tikkun olam and tikkun midot. We talk a lot about tikkun olam, trying to make the world a better place, and I think we talk a little bit less about tikkun midot, trying to make ourselves better people. And so Liz is very good at telling you what's wrong with the world, and she's tireless in her efforts to fix things and make things better. But what I think is even more amazing about Liz is that as hard as she works to do Tikkun Olam and make the world better, there's nothing that she strives harder to improve than herself. And I'm really lucky to have her as a partner and as a role model for me. So thank you. And thank you all for
So it's my pleasure to call forth Marvin Israelo. Marvin.
So, I first of all want to say how delightful it is to be here among such a talented and entertaining group of inductors and inductees. I'm humbled at the opportunity, and I'm really honored here tonight to have the opportunity to introduce Mira Schwartz and to present her with the Alumni Achievement Award. I could really spend my entire allotted time telling you how much I love Mira, how much I love her family, but I decided it was probably more appropriate to tell you a little bit more about Mira and about Mira's journey. I'm going to move through some of the material that you can read about Mira in the biography that's written in the program book. I'm going to quickly skip past the fact that Mira was born and raised in the Garden State. The Garden State. Anybody else here raised in the Garden State? Yeah? A little shout out to the Garden State. Okay, good. Now, home of the best beefsteak tomatoes and corn. I'm going to quickly move past Mira's career in college, her entry into her farm life, working as a volunteer while she was in college. I only knew Mira in passing during those years, but when I first really got to know Mira was when she and I were 2 of 27 participants in the first Hazon sponsored with the Heschel Center in Israel. The Hazon and Heschel sponsored Israel Sustainable Food Tour in 2009. The group was really an amazing mix of individuals with diverse backgrounds, food and environmental issues including farmers, nutritionists, public policy analysts, food journalists. And although Mira was by far the youngest member, Mira more than held her own in this knowledgeable and sophisticated crowd. Mira was very engaged and a very engaging participant. She was curious, really hungry to learn, and I was aware at that time of a young woman with a strong presence, a quiet confidence and gentle charisma, and qualities which continue to blossom today. While in Israel, Mira learned about Hava Adam, where she spent 6 months living and learning on a permaculture farm, and not insignificantly, this is also where Mira met her fiancé, Dakota, the lucky man who she also shares her passion for farming with. And it was at the 2010 Hazon Food Conference that Mira learned about the field internship position at Adama, which was another really significant step in her journey into food and farming. And also, most significantly, I think, is the connection that Mira and so many others who have been through programs like Hazon and at Isabella Freedman are the intimate links between food, farming, sustainability, and Jewish teaching practices and values. Following a year-long internship at the very successful Chubby Bunny farm near Isabella Freedman, Mira and her partner Dakota have initiated their own farming enterprise called Row by Row. We actually heard a reference to that earlier tonight. It's, again, since somebody else has broken the ice in terms of trying to do a little bit of singing, I'm going to have an opportunity now and take the opportunity, but just for a short one, to do inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. I don't know any of the other words, so you're going to have to take it from here. But that's clearly a namesake of to go to Mira's farm. On the farm this year, 4 acres will be planted, 45 different varieties of vegetables and strawberries. Mira and Dakota are currently sharing this farm with 2 cows, 75 laying hens, and 130 little chicks. They plan to sell their produce at CSA in Schenectady, Farmers Market in New York City, and currently discussing a workplace CSA in New York City as well. So the question for me when I was asked to do this is what draws Mira to farming, and what sustains and really gives her so much satisfaction in what's very challenging work. And in response to this question, Mira talks about her love of the outdoors, that farming is very physical and action-oriented. Any of you who know Mira know these qualities about her. She appreciates the challenges of farming because they teach you how to make do with what you have. Her chosen work requires her to be resourceful and creative about fixing things and making things work. She also emphasizes that farm work offers lots of time for reflection. And I'm quoting you, Mira, now. It sharpens your awareness, both of yourself and the natural world. You pay more attention to what's going on around you, to the health of your plants, your animals, how they may be changing, and what may be needed in order to sustain or restore them. According to Mira, farming has taught her to listen more closely and to trust her own instincts. Beyond what Mira has learned from farming, Mira herself has become a very wise teacher in the emerging Jewish food movement. Her writing in Jew and the Carrot is both practical and poetic. She teaches us not only how to tap maple trees, but how maple trees celebrate Purim. She demonstrates a deep appreciation for classical Jewish sources, such as Rambam. Did you know that Rambam suggests that we only eat until we're 80% full? And Mira shares deep wisdom well beyond her years when she tells us how we can do teshuvah, how we can return to ourselves by making, quote, making wiser choices when it comes to filling our stomach for a better nourished body to house the spark of divinity. Mira has integrated at a very deep level of experiential knowledge and practice that engaging in the sustainable food and farming movement is a spiritual practice with deep roots in our Jewish tradition that are finding renewed, contemporary, authentic expression in organizations, in the work of organizations like Hazon and Isabella Freedman, and represented so beautifully by people like Mira. So my compliments to Hazon and Isabella Freedman for having chosen so wisely in selecting Mira as such a worthy recipient of the Alumni Achievement Award.
I like to rise when the sun she rises, early in the morning. I like to hear them small birds singing merrily upon their lalem, and they're off for the life of a country boy.
I mean, I wasn't brought up in an agricultural family. I wasn't on a path to agriculture, but I look back at like all of the experiences I've had and the decisions I've made to do, even if they're, you know, seemingly disjointed, you know, all of the experiences I've had have informed where I am now. And if I hadn't taken them, if I hadn't, you know, made the moves, then I wouldn't be on a path. And I don't really need to know, like, the when. I don't need to know the culmination of it. I just need to feel like I'm representing my ideals in the way that I can right now. So I first started working on a farm when I was a junior in college. I did a Knowles trip the summer before, and it was like 75 days with the same 11 people backpacking and rock climbing, and I read Michael Pollan's The Botany of Desire and realized that I didn't know what most of my food looked like when it was growing. And I got there and I had like no idea what I was doing at all. Like the first day they told me I could take some spinach home, and I went and I just like pulled up a bunch of spinach plants and put them in a bag and took them home, which I later found out is not how you harvest spinach. My dad, he invited me to come on the Hazon food tour. I think it was the first one in Israel. And I felt a little bit uncomfortable about it just because, for 4 years my parents kept asking me to do Jewish things with them and I kept saying no. And then I realized with this one, it's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go travel with my dad, learn about things that I'm passionate about and wanting to devote my life to. And so I went, and it was incredible. The Hazon trip, it was like the initial step back into, thinking about how Judaism shows up in my life. I don't really remember when I thought or realized like this is what I need to do and what I want to do, but I don't know, all the other things that I had thought about devoting my life to, they kind of were replaced. A lot of my experience agriculturally at Adama has a ton to do with Jana Berger. And I think out of all of the farmers that I've worked for, she's the one who I think to call. And if I don't take the steps now that represent my ideals, then I'm not beginning the process, and I won't ever be able to see where it will take me.
Hello, Mira of Row by Row Farm. This is Kristen Kimball from Essex Farm, and I am here to say congratulations on your award, the If Not Now, When Award. And I am wishing you a really beautiful and prosperous and fertile growing season this year. I hope your vegetables do extremely well. And I'm sending this out to you from me and my friends Obi and Amos. And now we're gonna turn around and plow another row. Take care, bye-bye. Come on.
Again, it gives me great pleasure, Mira, to present you with the If Not Now Society inductee as the Alumni Achievement Award from Hazon and Isabella Freedman Jewish Retreat Center.
It's a great book, The Dirty Life. So thank you so much, Marvin. Having you present this honor makes it that much more meaningful, and I really appreciate you taking the time away from your new granddaughter and the retreat that you are partaking in this week to be here. So thank you. And thank you to all my family and friends who come out tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to receive this induction, and it's a real blessing to begin Row by Row's Farm's first season with. I've been thinking about the role that Adama, Isabella Freedman, and Hazon have played in my life and the path that I'm on, as we just heard. But I want to say first and foremost that what started me on this path is my family. They're a team of the best farm, business, design, and social media advisors I could ever imagine. And maybe even more importantly, they raised me in a Jewish home. If they hadn't, I wouldn't have been able to go through a healthy period of rejecting aspects of what I deemed at the time a traditional upbringing, although I've come to realize it was anything but. And if I hadn't gone through that, then my father wouldn't have needed to coax me to the Hazon food tour. And it's possible I would never have met Hazon, Isabella Freedman, Adama, and Dakota. Hazon provided me with the opportunity to travel with my dad to Israel to learn about agriculture, food, and land access, which introduced me to the permaculture program in Israel where I met my fiance. I later attended the Winter Food Conference, which introduced me to Isabella Freedman, where it was suggested that I might like to work for Adama. So through my relationship with Hazon and Isabella Freedman, I found a fiance. I also found a farmer mentor in Jana Berger, and many friends and teachers. I also gained the confidence and key experiences that I needed to add to my prior agricultural education in order to venture with Dakota in starting Row by Row Farm. The first time I visited Adama was at the insistence of my mother, who said, "Mira, there are other young people doing what you're doing, and they're only an hour away." At the time I had a market garden, and I was mainly working all the time and doing it by myself, so young people an hour away promised to be the social event of the summer. While I was there, someone said to me, "Wait, so you're a Jewish female farmer?" And I remember being taken aback. I had never thought of myself that way. I wasn't sure how to feel about it. It was never a connection that I had made. So my first encounter with Jewish farming was sort of shock and feeling like, no, I'm not Jewish farming, I'm just farming. And what does it mean to farm in a Jewish way anyway? It was about a year later that I went on the Hazon food tour, and the events that I mentioned unfolded. Now, I do identify with being a Jewish farmer, and that is due to my experiences with a Jewish environmental organization, working on a Jewish farm, and living at a Jewish retreat center. It was my relationship with these programs that enabled me to make the connection between I'm most passionate about, agriculture and the environment, to my sense of spirituality, which, as deeply embedded in agriculture as it is, will always be Jewish. I've found that in the time I've spent with these two organizations, I've had the space and inspiration to explore Judaism. So I want to thank Isabella Freedman, Hazon, and Adama for thinking of me for this honor. I knew from the second time I put my hands in the soil that agriculture was something I would pursue. I didn't know that it would also be how I would connect to Judaism. Thank you.
I would like to call up who some might refer to as my intended, but I refer to him instead as a wonderful colleague and friend and someone with whom I share a dream of doing great things together, essentially because together we have the best combined staff in the world to help make those dreams a reality. My friend Nigel Savage.
Thank you, David, and thank you, everybody. I'm here to introduce and honor Richard, but I actually first wanted to say a word about David Weisberg and our other three honorees. First of all, David had graciously invited me to be his co-MC this evening, but the great thing about the merger is that it actually doesn't need both of us to do everything. Key members of Hazon's staff, and I want to say especially Cheryl and Jesse, have worked incredibly hard and have played a very significant role in this evening's event. But my greatest thanks go to David, my friend, partner, co-pilot and lead MC in building the new Hazon. I just want to say publicly how excited and happy I am to be working together with you. Let me also add that I couldn't be more excited about the merger itself. Things are coming together in a really, really, really incredible way. A dozen years of hard work, both at Hazon and Isabella Freedman, is we think about to pay off in a huge way. We've had an incredible impact over these last dozen years, and yet we think that there is more to come. It's going to be another 2 or 3 years of very hard work, and it'll need the help and encouragement of everybody in this room and many people who aren't here this evening. But I think it's within our grasp to create something that's really, really incredible. Something that builds on Hazon, Freedman, Adama, Teva, Elat Chaim, and yet is actually larger and more impactful than any of us could be by ourselves. In the next couple of months, when we expect to complete the merger, we'll also unveil a new website. And we'll invite a public conversation about how together we can genuinely, we think, create a healthier and a more sustainable Jewish community and a healthier and a more sustainable world for everybody. And we're excited to thank all of you for helping us to get to this point, and literally to invite every one of you to join with us for the next phase of the journey. Mira, you and your family have been dear friends to Liz and me in the last few years. Larry, as people know, is chair of the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, and Shelley teaches yoga. You basically have the only Jewish parents who would have been disappointed if you'd applied to law school. We look forward to eating vegetables with you, meditating with your dad, and doing yoga with your mum for many years to come. Mazel tov on being honoured this evening. Saul, Saul, Cheryl explicitly forbade me to share with everyone some of my favourite memories of time that I've spent with you, so I'm really not going to. But I just want to say that you bring a sparkle to everything that you do. You bring a smile to everybody's face. You are an incredible mensch. And I just want to say thank you and mazel tov to you. Saul, in pre-kid days, was a very, very regular rider many, many years running. I think that you did it so many years that I think your butt still wakes up at night having flashbacks. But thank you for being such a great friend and Hazon. And Nili, I don't know why Nili is either. Hey Nili. I don't have much to add to what everybody said. Everybody here knows how amazing you are. We hiked together in North Carolina in the 1990s, and I was meant to be leading the group, and it was perfectly clear to me and to everybody else there that you were the true naturalist and Jewish educator. What you've done in the last dozen years is absolutely phenomenal, and it'll change people's lives for years to come. I'm glad you now get a little time off for good behaviour. And that brings me to Richard. The things that I'm going to say right now, they are largely for people here who are new to Hazon, who haven't been intimately and actively involved in our work. For our staff and board members, and for anyone who's had an inside up close involvement with Hazon, it's incredibly clear. You are Hazon's not so secret weapon. Without you, there might be a Hazon, but it wouldn't be as strong as it is today, wouldn't be as respected as it is today, wouldn't have touched the lives that we've touched. It wouldn't have the board that we have. It also wouldn't have all the Hazon certificates that Richard creates for anybody who leaves. A very special Richard touch. Richard is so incredibly effective at committee work. I'm not sure, seriously, that in 10 years the board has ever done anything he didn't want. He's like a sort of mild-mannered Clark Kent by day, but when he puts on that uniform, he gains the power to leap over committee objections with a single, I think we need to let the staff discuss this some more and bring it back to the board in due course. To find out when Richard joined Hazon's board, I actually went to the board website, repository of all information relating to the board, which of course Richard had set up. It turns out he joined the board at our meeting on February the 5th, 2001. Even though Hazon was 11 months old by then, I think that was actually our first formal board meeting. Our total budget that year was $135,000. We had one program, the New York Ride. The journey that we've made from then until now, Richard has played a key role every single step of the way. My own story with Richard actually started 30 years ago this year. That was when we met when we were both in undergrad. I was a Mancunian, so obviously it was a little hard for him to understand my accent, but we became friends nevertheless. Our most memorable time together was at a weekend called Sustaining Our Vision. sometime in the late 1980s. Hazon, which means vision, is in fact partly so called because of those sustaining our vision retreats. We were in London and we came together as a group of Jewish 20-somethings, young leaders in the community. Some of you know that Hazon is very into opening and closing circles. Well, that weekend the closing circle was early afternoon on Sunday, just after lunch. I asked people to turn to the person on their left and share something they appreciated about them. Richard turned to the woman on his left, a woman he'd met for the first time 36 hours earlier at the start of the retreat, and basically said, "You're amazing, I love you." And of course, a year later, there I was at Carmel College, holding a chuppah pole at Richard and Dorit's wedding. To the extent that Hazon means vision, and that there are now many people who've met at a Hazon event and subsequently gotten married, I'm pretty happy that Richard and Dorit, in a way, have been the first of those couples. And if all the Hazon progeny turn out like Hannah, Asher and Rena, we can all rest well at night. The future of the Jewish people will be in good hands. Richard and I are, at the end of the day, both English guys, which is to say we don't do well at expressing emotion in public. You can get your passport confiscated for that kind of thing in England. But I really want to express not only my gratitude to Richard and my respect and affection for him, for you, but at the end of the day, really to say how much I love you. You are kind, thoughtful and hardworking. You have incredibly good judgment. You're capable, you should know, of using some quite colourful language in private, which is also always more startling because you don't expect it from Richard. You chair things incredibly well. You have incredibly good instincts. You've been an unbelievable friend to me personally and to my family, including Paula and Ronan and their kids. You ride a recumbent bike, which is obviously the sign of great judgment all by itself. And you've been the only chair that Hazon has had in its entire history. And so the bottom line is simply this: there might be a Hazon today without Richard Dale, but there equally might not. If we did exist, I think we'd be smaller, weaker, less well respected, and oh yes, we'd have fewer certificates. And I'm going to give a very special one to Richard in a minute after we roll the tape.
עוד לא בניתי כפר, עוד לא מצאתי מים באמצע המדבר, עוד לא ציירתי פרח, עוד לא גיליתי איך תוביל אותי הדרך ולאן אני הולך.
The first thing I think of when I think of If Not Now When is the song Od Lo Ahavti Dai by Nomi Shemer. There's an Israeli folk dance to that, and I love Israeli folk dancing. And the end of the chorus is Ve'imlo imlo achshav eimatai, and if not now when. A long time ago, Nigel came to me and first invited me to join the board of Hazon, which I did after not too much persuasion. And then he asked me multiple times over a few years whether I'd consider being board chair. And he never actually asked me if not now when, but I did say no for a few times. And I do remember the time that I finally said yes. It was in early 2006, and Nigel was, I could see him winding up, preparing to give me the sales pitch again. Richard, you should be board chair, it's the right role for you at the right time. And really I think what he was saying was, if not now, when? What he didn't know was that I had, before we even met, decided that this is what I was going to say yes to, that I was ready to do it. And so as he launched into his pitch, his discussion point, his talking point, his case for me to be board chair, I said, Nigel, it's okay, I accept. Hazon's mission is about creating communities with Jewish inspiration, about renewing what it means to be Jewish through the lens of contemporary issues. The most important and obvious and high-lit one at the moment is that of the environment. And we do that in so many ways. So Hazon asks the question, if not now, when? And it's a great challenge to the Jewish community, and has been since the very beginning, when we started our bike rides with the Cross USA ride, and then the New York ride, and then the Israel ride. There were many Jews on bikes, there were many bike rides, but there weren't so many Jewish bike rides, certainly not in North America. And Hazon, starting those rides, really asked the community, if not now, when? And I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had to work with Hazon, to serve on the board at Hazon, to go on bike rides, and to become part of a community which is rich in so many ways. It's just thrilling to see that the call has been answered, and more and more people enjoy being part of Hazon, enjoy answering the call, if not now, when. So over the years, Nigel and I work very closely together, and we have weekly phone calls, and Nigel is often asking about when are we going to be ready to do the next projects, to bring the next idea into the Hazon portfolio of things that we do. And early on, my British reticence and conservatism perhaps about how quickly to bring on new programs involved long discussions. And so now when Nigel brings a new project to me, I kind of know he's asking, and if not now, when, and I'm much more ready to say, yes, now is the time. It is not up to us to complete the work, but neither can we desist from it. And so with all this work at Hazon, it's ongoing. My part in it continues in new ways, and I hope to always be involved. And in the meanwhile, other people pick up the mantle and continue the work, and I hope to be part of this for a long time to come.
Hi, Rich.
Hello, darling, Richard. We are sorry we can't be with you in person, but we're certainly with you in spirit and here on the video. And we're very proud of you and all you've achieved and all the work you've done for Hazon over the last 10 years.
We know how much time and energy you put into Hazon, and it's typical of the way that you get involved with things, your thoughtfulness. Ever since you've been a young child, you've been involved in helping other people, and you carried that through, and we're intensely proud of what you've achieved and what you've helped Hazon achieve, and the way in which you and Nigel have worked together with other members of the board.
Well, we send our love to everybody there, including obviously Dorrit and Hannah and Asha and Rena, and to Nigel and everyone that's worked hard for Hazon.
And especially to you,
yes,
with many congratulations.
Many congratulations, darling.
For the honour that's been afforded you this evening.
Very, very proud of you.
Fantastic.
Sending
well done.
lots and lots of love.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I want to thank Hannah for being a fabulous co-conspirator, by the way, on that video and keeping it from every other member of the Dale family. I also just want to tell you a story about Richard's mum. The week before Richard and Dorrit's wedding, it rained every single day. It was June in England. They were planning an outdoor wedding in August. It was summer in England. It poured down every single day. And I remember being with Richard's mum in the kitchen the day before wedding, looking out this torrential rain and saying, "Are you not slightly worried? Are you making plan B contingency?" And she said, "No, it's going to be a beautiful day." And it was 70 degrees and a clear blue sky. So Richard gives a certificate to everybody who leaves Hazon staff, so we wanted to do a very special certificate for him. The If Not Now quote is from Pirkei Avot, and we have here in Hebrew and English 2 quotes from Pirkei Avot. Empower somebody to be your teacher, Selach Harav. Acquire a friend and colleague and give each person the benefit of the doubt. And then later there are 3 crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty. And the crown of a good name, says Pirkei Avot, is highest of all. The certificate says, "Richard, you have been the only board chair in Hazon's history. When you began, we had 2 staff and a budget of $135,000. Since then, we've grown 20-fold and have touched people's lives in innumerable ways. You have been a teacher and a friend to me and to many, and you have always given each person the benefit of the doubt. Yours is indeed the crown of a good name, with love and with enormous gratitude."
Hi, Mom. I'm going to say some thank yous. I want to thank everybody for your generous words, and Nigel in particular. I want to thank David Weisberg and the Freedman family for welcoming me and Hazon so warmly with this honour. I'm very excited that we are getting close on the merger, and we see wonderful opportunities for the new organisation to show that the whole can be more than the sum of the parts in all aspects, especially in the impact that we have in the world. I want to thank Nigel for his lovely words tonight. We have been friends. I also have the same number for 30 years. And the same story. Nigel was at the Shabbaton where I met my wife Dorrit. You've heard the story. And held the Kupapol at our wedding. We've been in Chavruta together. We've been learning together for 10 years. Mostly about Hazon, but also about the world. And certainly since 2006 when I became board chair. It is a very rewarding path of working together. And I thank Nigel for your gracious and gentle teaching as I learned to be board chair. I've learned a great deal from Nigel and continue to do so, not least that entrepreneurialism can be just as effective in the non-profit world and in the Jewish community as it can in the world of venture-backed startups. I also learned about recumbent bikes from Nigel, and I'm thrilled and happy to be a proud bench rider and a regular cyclist, entirely prompted by your personal example. Thank you. I also learned from my fellow board members at Hazon, who have been unstinting in their support and in sharing their wisdom with me. The saying goes that when people will lead, the leaders will follow, and I feel that applies to Hazon's board, where I have been privileged to lead by following the board members as they bring questions and insights and care and commitment to the job of stewarding Hazon. So thank you. I want to thank my friends and family for their continued and continuing support of my favourite non-profit, and by the kind words and generous donations for this evening's benefit. I'm touched by the fact that people from so many areas of my life have been moved in this way, and grateful for your love and support. Many friends from New York and from out of town, including some from Boston, are here, and in particular I'm going to shout out to Mike Gildersgame and Serene Victor from Boston, and Greg Stern, who's still an honorary Bostonian. I don't think there's anybody else, but if there is, thank you as well. And last but not least, I want to express my love and thanks to my family, who have been more generous with their support of my work with Hazon than I should have a right to expect. There have been many evenings and weekends when I've spent time with Hazon rather than my family, and they have only been supportive and proud to let me do so. My love and my friend Dorrit has been happy to make my priority our priority in this regard. And my children too have become Hazonniks over the years. Hannah and I rode the New York ride together 3 times, and she talks of Hazon with great affection as being part of her childhood. Each time Hannah and I rode, Dorrit came with Asher and Rena as well to the Shabbaton and to cheer us on. And last time I did the New York ride, Asher and Rena were also on crew with Dorrit, cheering all the riders at the rest stops and on the hill climbs. I'm very thrilled that all of them are here this evening to enjoy this with me. For Hannah, as a student at Barnard, this is a local event, but she's been very excited to come, and now I understand, conspire with Nigel. And for the rest of us, it is a fun excursion and a wonderful excuse to spend time together, although they already have Hazon in their heart, I think. I'm glad they get another infusion tonight, and I love you with all my heart, all of you. And to Dorrit especially, and this year we're celebrating 25 years of marriage. Your love has made my heart only fuller every day. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make some very quick thank yous. First of all, thank you for being here and for your patience as we've eaten slightly into your dessert and cocktail time, but I promise you we'll feed you great cocktails and feed you great desserts and give you wonderful cocktails. I want to thank our honorees for, it's our honor. It's our honor to induct you, and I want to thank you, your saying yeses and your doing the work that you do. To allow us to honor you is what makes this such a wonderful evening. I want to thank our friends at UJA Federation of New York. I know that Joe Mendelson was at least here earlier this evening. I don't know if she's still here. UJA is a huge supporter of what we do. They've been very supportive of the merger. We're very appreciative of all the wonderful things that they make happen at Hazon and Isabella Freedman, and will continue to make happen in the combined organization. And above all, I want to thank the combined staff of Hazon and Isabella Freedman. This is one of the first big events that we've done together. Like many events that we do, there will be folks on staff who've worked on it for 3 months, some for 3 weeks, some for 3 days, and some for 3 hours. And that's the way that we make teamwork happen. Among those who've been working on it for several months, that I want to single out as a staff member who started after we actually already started planning the event. So had to jump in the middle and really put in an inordinate amount of time to make this a wonderful evening, and that's Jesse Lipset. And Jesse, could you stand up for I want to let everyone know that in the back corner of the room we're going to have an Adama farmers market, so you can buy pickles and cheese at the end of the evening. Just as a funny story, we were at a UJA social enterprise conference last Thursday, where among other things they were featuring organizations like us who do these great businesses making pickles and cheese. They asked us to donate some product for a raffle they were having, and we found out yesterday that we won the raffle, so we just got our pickles back, and we'd be very happy to sell them to you. And with that, I'd like to call forward Rabbi Benjamin Zeidman for our closing prayer. Rabbi.
In considering the sanctity and holiness of all of God's creatures, we honor for this evening who have embraced the divine likeness within themselves and who have brought our community and our world closer to the Holy One. In honoring them, O God, we honor you. In recognizing their achievements, we recognize that you are not so distant from us. Each of us has the task of making this world one worthy of your presence, and they lead us to these 4 people lead us to the realization that this seemingly impossible task is indeed within our reach. Through dedication and devotion to education and the environment and social justice, these 4 honorees model for each of us how to make this world better and how to sanctify our own lives with meaning. And so we thank you, O God, for the opportunity to be inspired by Nili, Simhai, Saul, Kaiserman, Mira, Schwartz, and Richard Dale for all that they do and all that they are. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors. However each of us knows you and perceives you, may we be brought closer to you and to your desire for us to create a community and a world of peace, fairness, justice, and joy. May it be your will that we see the blessings you already bestow upon us daily, and that we speedily come to know the power which you give us to make this world a better one for all of your creatures. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so.
And I want to invite you to join us for a dessert and cocktail reception. I want to thank, this is the 2nd consecutive year we've held this event at Central Synagogue, and I can't think of a more welcoming place and a more welcoming and helpful staff, and we'd certainly love to come back here again. And thank you very much for being here. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
If not now, then when? If not today,